Good evening. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about wasteful government spending. Currently, our national debt is over $19 trillion. Every 90 seconds, our debt increases by over $1 million. Over the past 5 years, although, our federal deficit has decreased from $1.3 trillion to $438 billion annually. This may sound great, but we're still losing over $400 billion every single year. I could tell you about some crazy stories and studies done by the government, such as a study about monkeys running on treadmills, or the addictiveness of crack compared to the addictiveness of pizza, or projects such as planting trees along national U.S. highways only for them to be cut down 10 years later because they're approaching the road too closely. But these projects and studies are minuscule in comparison to the larger government waste happening. Today I'm going to talk to you guys about the federal budgeting process and some solutions in which we can start to implement to cut our enormous national debt. Every year, Congress creates a new federal budget through something called the appropriations process. Appropriation bills are bills that decide how much funding each different government agency will receive. The appropriation bills must go through Congress and the President in order to receive approval and then be implemented into the budget. There are 5 main steps to the appropriations process. First, the President takes in budget requests from agencies such as the USDA and the Department of Defense and so on, and creates a budget which he proposes to Congress. Next, the House of Representatives and the Senate subcommittees determine the amounts of spending by writing, rewriting, and voting on resolutions to the President's proposed budget. Step 3, the House and Senate subcommittees determine the specific amounts of spending that goes to each different government agency, such as the USDA and education and all of these, Social Security and things like that. After that, the subcommittee sends their proposals to the actual House of Representatives and the Senate, and here's the fun part, they get to debate, which takes an enormous amount of time. They debate and vote on these proposals. And finally, once they've reached conclusions on the bills, the appropriation bills, the subcommittee has passed to them, they send their completed budget plan to the President for him to either veto or accept. And once the President has accepted these bills, he signs them into law and the budget process is finished. The appropriations process was started by the President. He's supposed to submit a budget plan in February, and there's supposed to be a budget completed by October 1st. Rarely, though, does this happen. If the budget is not passed by October 1st, Congress can approve something called a continuations plan. This plan allows for additional funding to be provided to government agencies so they continue to run and operate smoothly. If this continuation plan operates too long, the government and Congress can go into shutdowns, such as it did in 2013. This can cause huge amounts of wasted money. Billions and billions and billions of dollars can be spent on wasted time by the government and wasted efforts by government agencies. This affects taxpayers and trickles down to people like us. There are many solutions in which we can start to cut down our government debt. First, we can cut spending across all areas. All agencies and programs can cut extra waste and extra programs and extra things that are unnecessary or outdated can be eliminated. Next, we can cut overall programs and agencies that are no longer needed or helpful. Everyone's favorite, we can increase taxes, which is at the time currently not a feasible option since we are already paying enormous amounts of taxes. We can do something called interest rate manipulation, where the government takes interest rates and shoves them down so low that people put more and more money into the economy, stimulating growth and creating funds for the government. We can do something called bailout, where we can go to our vendors and the people and countries that we owe money to, and we can ask them for either a clean slate, eliminate our debt and start clean, or we can ask them for just money to help us during this loan, not as a loan, just as a gift. We can default on our loan, which is the worst possible thing we can do. It would ruin our credit, and we would have a terrible reputation throughout the world as a buyer and trader. We can cut foreign aid. We're spending We're spending huge amounts of money throughout the world when we can't even pay for our own nation. We can cut government contractors. there are many private contractors which hire out their labor for cheaper. They use less resources, less labor, and for cheaper than government contractors. Government contractors often use more resources and labor than necessary. We can reduce our worldwide troop presence around the world, such as in the Middle East and in Asia. We can cut back and bring back some of our soldiers back to our country. And we can finally regulate illegal immigration. I'm going to focus on the illegal immigration side of things for a second, since it's so prevalent in our current presidential elections. Currently, U.S. citizens receive government services such as Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, Social Security, public housing, police departments, fire departments, highways, public roads, and public schools. The average U.S. household receives $31,000 in benefits like these. But since illegal immigrants are not properly documented, don't have the proper forms, they can't receive things, all of these things. So they only receive things like the fire department help and the police help and the public roads and schools and stuff like that. So they only receive $24,000 in government benefits. They only pay back $10,000 in taxes. So that leaves the government with a $14,000 deficit for every single illegal immigrant. This amount times the estimated 11 million illegal immigrants in our nation comes out to $154 billion annually for our government. This is a huge amount of money illegal immigrants are costing our nation. This doesn't only affect our government, it affects me and you. We're having to pay taxes to cover for these illegal immigrants, and it's not fair for everyone to cover for them. In addition to all these different forms of wasteful government spending, we are also having to pay the interest on our debt that we have. So every day that we have our enormous amount of national debt, we are having to pay interest on it. So overall, we just need to start to cut spending and be more careful about what we spend our money on as a country in order to start to eliminate our enormous national debt and cut down on wasteful government spending. Thank you.